Hello, welcome to our webinar. We're excited for our masterclass today. This is a bigger one than usual, and so I'm excited that everybody is joining. Um, as we're getting started, just going to get everything set up on our side internally. We'll give everybody a couple seconds to hop on because it looks like everyone's logging on right now. But as we're before we jump into things, is anybody big fans of the Winter Olympics this year at all? I don't know if anyone's watching it. This will be, I don't have like a prize or anything officially, but can anyone, without Googling it, tell me which country is currently in the lead with medals? And it happens to be both, they're leading both in total medals and gold medals. Any guesses? You can throw it in the chat. I wish I could give you like a gift card or something like that, but I didn't prep beforehand. So it looks like we're getting a lot of Switzerland is the last one I saw. Norway, Italy. Got some right answers so far. Norway. Norway is the correct answer. So good job. I wasn't expecting that. I thought the USA would be farther ahead, but I guess it makes sense with Norway. But I think we'll see once the events are all the way over where it stands. But if you're curious, and not to get like too off topic, but Norway is number one, Italy's number two, and the US is number three right now. But yeah, exciting with the Winter Olympics. That's pretty much what I do every night when I get home from work is just turn that on and have it on the background, which is weird because curling is on the most, which I don't know if it's just the channel that I'm on, but that doesn't really make sense to me. But enough about that. Let's jump into our masterclass today on cross-selling. It's a huge opportunity whether or not whether you've sold annuities before. We're excited to show you how technology, specifically our tool, Annuities Genius, can help you sell more annuities or just start selling annuities if you haven't sold them at all. The great thing about this is whether you've sold annuities for 20 years or you just barely got your license last week, there's a number of different ways that Annuities Genius can help you sell annuities better and create the opportunity for cross-sell opportunities, which is kind of what our topic is today. And so this webinar is built for all of you, which I'm excited because there's going to be a lot of good content that we're going through. And so let me share my screen and we'll jump into things right now. Give me just 1 second as I jump into PowerPoint. All right, so what is the problem and reality that we're looking at today? So right now, if you take Medicare, for example, if you're saying Medicare, typically, depending on your state, it's going to be, $300 to $400 a deal approximately. And if it's couple, obviously it's double that. If you're selling life, it's going to be probably more than that in most cases, especially if you're selling IUL. But it's a high volume business. In this example that I'm going to go through is, let's say that you have 200 clients and you're selling Medicare. If you're, doing, 100 of those, that's not, anything amazing from an annual perspective. The opportunity with annuities is just you're dealing with higher commission rates. And so you have the ability to basically do the same amount of work with your current clients and basically cross-sell them to a higher opportunity and multiply your earning potential. And so basically, like it says, same hours, same clients, different conversation. Annuities are basically opening a whole new revenue stream with what you're doing. And so what I want to go through right now is just run through an example of somebody that recently, or I guess in the last year or so, has started selling annuities with Annuity Genius. So in this example, David, he came from selling Medicare and he basically did Medicare only and he sold it for 5 years. Just hit his 6th year actually. He had about approximately 300 clients or so. And with that, he was basically coming in around 75 to 90,000-ish, somewhere around there with his residuals and everything like that. And before he started selling annuities last year, he had heard annuities over and over, but basically felt like he had a great understanding of Medicare, could answer questions, felt comfortable, and was a little worried about annuities and maybe being too complicated, feeling too overwhelmed, too many products. Not necessarily, I guess, comfortable is probably the best word to describe it, on his ability to present and learn a whole new product, a whole new, basically what he thought business. And so he kept on putting it off and off and off until he found Annuities Genius. And so in that example, basically he took he started Annuities Genius. He basically jumped into some of our training, went through our tool, and then actually what happened is after the open enrollment stopped, he basically focused on annuities for the next 3 months. And in those 90 days, so 3 months, with his existing clientele, he was able to close 14 cases, and that equaled not quite double what he was making. He was making, 70 to 80-ish, but he basically, in those 14 cases, he did $67,000 in additional commission. And that was going off of his current clientele, not buying leads. He basically just went back to those existing clients, relationships that he had, and had started having a conversation around retirement income. And basically he opened up the door to a whole new product line. And that was in 3 months. I haven't talked to him since that first 90 days, but he probably has more than doubled his income doing the exact same thing, nothing crazy with what he was doing. And so the great thing about that too is, especially if you're selling a lot of life, you probably run into chargebacks a lot. With annuities, there's no chargebacks. Like basically once a deal closed, it closed and you're getting paid. And so if you're doing like a lot of life volume, you're probably, I don't know, I have friends that do that quite a bit, and they're probably looking at 20% chargebacks-ish, or depending on, what type of volume and how they're selling, especially if they're doing it virtually. Whereas with annuities, once it's closed and done and you're paid and no one's canceling the contract or anything like that, because you're basically good to start. And so that's kind of a true opportunity. Kind of getting off topic a little bit, but I had another agent that is starting to use Annuities Genius that came from that has sold annuities out before. They just started purchasing leads, and their first batch of leads that they got that they're working on, they discovered a case where that individual from that one deal is going to sell two different annuities, an accumulation product as well as an income product. Both of those annuities are $2 million. And so $4 million between the two of those. So you can do the math on that, and that starts to add up really quick. But again, that's the opportunity. That's just off of one deal. So whether it's a lot of small ones, big ones, or whatever, that's where the true opportunity comes when it comes to annuities. And now it's just how can I implement that into my day-to-day and basically feel comfortable doing it. And so the question is what actually closes annuity sales? And what we've come up with is what we call the three-legged stool. The myth behind having to have, perfect knowledge of all the annuity products, how it works, all of that is, like I said, just a myth. It basically comes down to three things. So trust. That's going to be something that you probably, if you don't fully have, you at least have a relationship if you're doing a cross-sell opportunity. You've already worked with them in the past, whether it's Medicare or life. And so you kind of check that first box. The second one is discovery, the ability to uncover needs through questions. I think everybody can ask questions. It's just understanding the right questions to ask and transitioning on and feeling comfortable asking those. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and how to implement that. And then the third is the process and product knowledge. And so basically having a repeatable process that you can utilize when it comes to selling annuities, and then the product knowledge to be able to make a clean recommendation that's good for the client and suitable. And that's where Annuity Genius basically helps you fill the gap. And so ultimately is you just need to ask questions, have a repeatable sales process, and then have a guide that knows the products for you. And that's where Annuities Genius really comes into play, is being able to build that process and fill in that knowledge gap. And so you can basically feel comfortable and confident is really, really comes down to. I don't know, basically just kind of asking a question out loud. If you've sold either life or Medicare or another product, maybe a different type of annuity or whatever, have you ever avoided the potential conversation of annuity just because you weren't totally comfortable with it, or you didn't know, or maybe you didn't want to screw up the deal? You just sold a big IUL deal and you didn't want to basically start talking about annuities and, trip over yourself and then, worry that you're going to mess up your deal that you've already sold. If your answer is yes, you're in a bucket with a lot of people. And that's what we hope to help you get over so that you can take advantage of those opportunities. And so how does that happen? What is the shift that has to happen? And it's like it says, it's behavior change. It's not a necessarily title change. You're not having to, go out and get a Series 7, call yourself a full-blown financial advisor. It's basically just asking better questions and leaning in when clients mention retirement needs, or basically transition to that there's something that pops up as far as the opportunity to, when it comes to start talking about annuities specifically, is leaning into that. So, old behavior might have been, hey, client mentioned something about retirement or income needs, or worried that their money's not going to last. And you just say, yeah, it's tough out there. I don't know. Or yeah, maybe your financial advisor can help with that. Where now it's basically, if they ask or bring something up like that, you can ask one more question and start basically uncovering a little bit more so that you can create that opportunity. And a lot of it with our tool, Annuities Genius, specifically with Grant AI, one of our main features within our tool, it gives you the backup to have those conversations confidently so that you don't feel like you have to be an expert. You can help leverage the technology to be able to fill those gaps. Ultimately, with sales of anything, whether you're selling insurance or cars or homes or whatever, if you're not confident, you're probably not going to do a great job. And so we want you to feel confident that you're not just pitching a product to pitch a product, but you're pitching a product to solve a problem that they have, and so that they're in a better spot and that you can add value and that you can have confidence that you can do that and that you're making the right recommendation and that it ends up being a win-win. You're helping your client solve a problem, you're gaining that trust, you're establishing that relationship better. And then obviously as you're doing that, we live in a great industry where we get paid commissions, and the more you can do that, the more money you're going to make. And so that's a true kind of win-win, so to speak. And so how do you find your first client? If you're a new agent, obviously targeting more demographics that lean towards annuities. I think in our system, our average, from what I looked at last time, our average annuity client is, I want to say early 60s, 63 or 64. And so that's kind of the demographic that you would want to potentially look at. Where to find them for new agents? If you're buying Medicare or life leads, obviously that's an opportunity as well. Community events, referrals from CPAs and attorneys, any type of referral is going to be golden. That's going to be by far your best converting source. And then other digital marketing, purchasing leads, that type of thing as well. For those existing agents and advisors, the cross-selling opportunity, when it comes down to your current book of business, that's going to be basically your gold mine, because you already have a relationship, you've already had some type of interaction with whatever other product. And so you can easily leverage that to start the conversation. Medicare clients, when they're getting to that age, not just health needs and healthcare needs and insurance needs when it comes to health insurance are top of mind, but transitioning to retirement income and that type of thing is an easy transition and conversation. Final expense clients, same thing, focus on security, guaranteed income, that type of thing. And so going off of that, after this call, I would take a second and I would go through and just think of maybe top 3 or 5 clients that potentially fit that demographic on what that looks like. Now, putting that into action is something that we've kind of created, or call it like the 3-touch conversation. And this could be, maybe it's a 2-touch, maybe it's a 1 because you have a really good relationship. But ultimately, it's not like you have to just pitch an annuity in one sale or talk about it and it's just, you're going to close it. Maybe you find a laydown that happens, every once in a while where it is kind of an easy sale. But typically, it's going to be a multi-touch process, in this case, 3. So initially, you're planting the seed. So that's just basically, you've picked up on something they mentioned, or through a question, you basically plant that seed that then you can transition over to what we call touch 2, which is the bridge. And obviously, these can potentially happen in a lot of cases at the same meeting. We're going to give you 5 kind of general discovery questions that potentially could come into play that you could look at. But basically asking discovery questions, understands concerns, the assets, risk tolerant goals. Basically, you're going to become a problem solver and understanding what their problems are. If you can create a solution, then it's not necessarily you're selling them something. You're basically presenting them a solution to their problem. And then ultimately, touch 3 is the presentation. So utilizing Annuities Genius, our Grant AI report in this case, to let the report do the heavy lifting and and basically help you with your process when it comes to the annuity sale. Now, 5 just general discovery questions, and again, you can it's easy to kind of write a list of questions, but as easy as it seems, it's definitely like very essential that you have good questions in your back pocket, because that's going to be your key to transition to the opportunity, or basically undiscover the opportunity. So here's just a couple different questions. You have your, what's your biggest concern about retirement? Do you have money sitting somewhere that isn't working for you? How do you feel about the stock market? Do you have guaranteed income besides Social Security? If I could show you a pension-like income without market risk, would that be worth 20 minutes? What I've seen from a couple different studies is people like to talk about a personal pension, because pensions aren't as common necessarily today. But if you can create a personal pension, or say that, hey, do you have a personal pension or something like that, that could potentially spark a little bit of interest that kind of gives you a gateway into talking more about it. Also, if you took like different buckets of questions, and again, you can kind of brainstorm and do this, or utilize like, ChatGPT or another AI tool to help give you a list of questions. But anything with like kind of the 3 buckets of questions that I've kind of thought about is, you have the longevity question. So, are you going to outlive your money? I mean, there's no guarantees. No one really knows, but longevity questions are great. Anything based around that. Another one is going to be market volatility questions. That creates opportunities for looking at guaranteed options and how you can reallocate assets. And then inflation and purchasing power questions. Anything with that on, creating the need for guaranteed income or just more stable income, that type of thing, also opens doors a lot for the potential to kind of get your opportunity to further that conversation. And so let's not just talk about it and go through the PowerPoint. Let's actually now utilize Annuities Genius and see how it can help us in this scenario. And so bear with me for just 1 second as I switch over. I'm going to switch over my screen to Annuities Genius, and let's actually put the tool to work and see, like, I mean, it's cool to talk about, but let's actually do it and see what we can do. So let's actually go through an example. Let's say that I just started selling. I've been selling life insurance, and I do pretty good, but I want to basically add to my product line, and I want to make more money, and I'm trying to buy a house, and I want to start selling annuities. So let's go to create case, and let's say that I have Larry. I'm just going to throw in, let's say I have Larry David, and Larry's 64, and let's say that he lives in Arizona, or Arizona. And I'm going to put him, so I'm putting him into Annuities Genius. So this is actually utilizing Annuities Genius now. So we've talked about kind of the process, what it looks like. How do we leverage technology to help us with our annuity process so that we can sell confidently? So I'm going to put him in goals and objectives. We try to make this pretty easy to use. We call it as far as how can we better filter through the products to make a recommendation. But I'm new to annuities. I don't really know I don't know his goals and objectives because I haven't talked about annuities yet. And so I'm going to skip this. So let's say funding source, same thing. I don't know how much money we're working with. I haven't had that conversation with either. So I'm going to go skip, and I'm just going to come into the AI notes, and I have some prompts. I'm just going to say, I've sold Larry a life policy. Let's say he expressed concern about retirement and, sorry, I can't type very well, and market risk. I've never sold. I'll just let the auto spelling take care of it, do its job. I've never sold annuities before, and I want to start. All right, so let's keep it super basic. So I'm going to go create case. And then what it's going to do is basically, it's going to take me to my prompt to where now I need to actually figure out what to do. So in this case, I'm keeping it super simple. So I'm going to say, I want to create an email that I can send out to him for a discovery question. So I'm going to draft a short email to Larry sorry that I'm a slow typer. I apologize, but I promise it's going to be worth it. To start conversation about annuities and gather basic, we'll just keep it super basic info to make a quote. All right, so I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible for this example. Now, keep in mind, if I'm sold annuities and I have experience, the more detail you can get, the better data you're going to spit out initially. And so this works great, again, like I mentioned before, for, I've never sold an annuity before, too. I've sold an annuity for 20 years, and I'm just finding a way that I can make work more efficient and do a better job. And so the email that it created here, it has, hey, Larry, I've been thinking about our recent conversation. You mentioned concerns about retirement, market risk. Given that you're 64, I want to reach out potential that might give you, I'd like to explore some annuity options with you, these products, da-da-da-da. And then basically it's going to get me, I put together some initial options for you. It would help me know with different questions. How much are they working with potentially? What type of funds? Is it an IRA? Is it a rollover? Is it non-qualified? What's most important to you? Now, let's say, you know what, I don't want to come in super hot with annuities. And this is what's great about AI, as I can say, draft the same email, but don't mention annuities. All right. So I'm just actually curious what it's going to do, because I want this to be like a real activity as we're going through this, so that you can see kind of me not just taking things that I've already done. All right, so let's see what it said. It's like, I'd like to explore some options that could provide you with guaranteed income and protection from the market volatility. That actually sounds better, I think. So now I'm going to say, I'm just going to send this to myself just for example's sake. I'm going to send it from my Gmail. So basically it's going to open up another screen. That'll then send the email to Larry in this case, and we would wait for him to reply back. So now, just going off of the same, example's sake, let's say that he got back to me and he says, I'll say Larry responded, whoops, I cannot type, responded that I'm thinking 200,000 from, we're going to say this is a good initial deal, from my IRA. Is one of the questions we asked. And we'll say guaranteed income. Income is very important to me. Oops. I'm retiring in 5 years, let's say. All right. I'm just going to put that in. Now, what does it do? So going back to kind of why we're doing this is basically just us creating a process that I can repeat, and it gives me kind of the ability to create the case and understand how I can basically start. And so now it's going to start clarifying things. So does Larry want to start taking income immediately or when he retires? So he wants to start taking in 5 years in this case when he turns 69. So it's going to get me some clarifying questions so it can better give me a recommendation. And then during the 5 years, income starts. What's more important, maximize the future income or having some growth potential in account value. Let's say that Larry just super sparked for the market, and so he wants to maximize future income with guaranteed income options. All right, so once I clarify those, again, super easy as far as just functionality goes. It's going to start doing its work, and it's going to go through all the different annuity options that I'm contracted with based off of the carriers that I'm working with. And it's going to see what would work best for Larry in this case. Now, what's great about this is when I talk about Annuities Genius, I always talk about how we do two things. So if I had to kind of break it down into two things, just to simplify it, we do product recommendations and quotes, pretty straightforward. There's a lot of different tools that do that. Nothing crazy about that. But where the real value is in the tool is our sales enablement tools, meaning sales enablement, how does that help you be better at your job when it comes to selling annuities? Not just product recommendation, but how do you do it, the why behind you do it, and basically building cases specifically tailored around their scenario so that you can make it fit and be, like I said before, become a problem solver to what their concerns are about. So now that I have this, it basically gives me, it's given me a couple different options. Here's a side-by-side scenario, a side-by-side comparison of 3 products that it narrowed down. So I have these products I can go through pretty straightforward. So traditionally, when you would get an annuity case, you potentially would have to go to the carrier site or to the product brochure to find all this information. And it's basically doing it all right here for me, to where it basically gives me a quick synopsis of all this kind of in one spot. So here's the recommendation. Why is it recommending this case, this product in this case? Stronger carrier, shorter commitment, competitive income, flexibility, the trade-off, alternative options, and then it basically gives me a PDF right here that I can put this in or download this on the breakdown of everything that we just went through. And so it gives me a pretty good background and kind of the basic information on why each product fits Larry's scenario based off of what we talked about thus far. Now, this is great. This gives me a pretty good initial breakdown. But let's say, again, in this scenario, I need like additional help on just like, how do I pitch this? Since this is, again, this is my first couple times doing a cross sell, and I want to make it super easy to use. So let's say that, okay, AI, I need to, let's see, prepare me. I'm going to say prepare me. So me being Danny, the presenter, prepare me for my first solution presentation. So this is basically me presenting to my client, Larry. So prepare me for this presentation, basically. How can you help me with that? All right, so it's going to go through that, and it's going to prepare me for this presentation. And when I say prepare me, it's basically it's almost scripting out the presentation and giving me like good key points that I can utilize. And so I'll wait for this to kind of go through. So what is it looking at? Giving me key talking points, going over the initial concerns, what I have so far, a breakdown of kind of teeing up the scenario on guaranteed income and the value of it, what it looks like when he starts getting income, what are the what ifs, what if I need the money? So this is great because when there's always questions that people have, or if they're not asking the questions, they're probably questions that they may have. And a lot of the times, and you probably, if you've been in sales a while, you'll know this, if someone's not asking a lot of questions, or there's a question that they don't feel comfortable asking necessarily, in a lot of cases, that will, if it's not already, that'll become a future objection. And so my recommendation is always be super proactive on answering questions or common questions that people have. And so it's like, hey, you know what? If I pitch this to Larry, Larry's like, oh, that's interesting. And he asks a couple questions. It's always great to be like, other questions that people typically have in this scenario is, what if I need my money? What if the market crashes? What if I die before I start taking the income? What if I live really, really long? And those are all usually top of my questions that people typically have in that scenario that you can get ahead of or in front of in this case, so that they're feeling comfortable and you're building that trust and you're showing them how this really is a good solution for what they're trying to do. Here's some common objections that potentially pop up. Another great thing about the tool. So again, it's not just about, hey, here's an annuity that works good for your scenario, go sell it. It's almost like your sales buddy in your pocket that's helping you prep for the case and actually be able to present it in an easy, simple way to do it. And so income seems low. What about inflation? Why not just keep it in the market? And just different talking points. And then what's really cool about this is it's giving comparison to alternatives. I mean, he has that $200,000 and he's going to do something with it, whether it's a CD or putting it in the stock market or a mutual fund or bonds or whatever. Here's some alternatives just to have an apples to apples comparison so that you kind of have true, call it sales ammunition when you're presenting this. And then here's some visual ideas, closing questions, and then kind of application process, and then ultimately confidence builders. So I really like this. Like I mentioned before, if you're not familiar with selling annuities like what we started with, you don't have that confidence yet. And this is where this tool is really helping you find that, because you're getting the knowledge behind it. You're basically figuring out the why on why this makes a good fit for your client in the scenario. And then it's giving you good, clean data behind each of those so that you can do a good job basically as you present. And then it actually gives you kind of an opening on what to say. And so again, we started with, hey, I'm just trying to sell an annuity for the first time. Can you do it? And then we've gone it all the way down to basically my script with not just the product recommendation, but with questions to ask and then objection handling as well. And I mean, I haven't been looking at the clock, but I think that probably took 10 minutes or so maybe. And so now just think about that. If you're going to do that on scratch, like today, you're like, hey, you know what? I have this client. I'm going to pitch him on annuity. And what do I do? You would have to write a script, go to, I don't know, your marketer or your annuity expert in your office, or go to carrier sites, write all that information down, do all that. I mean, legitimately, that would probably take you, if you could focus on it, it would take you, if you're really, really good, it would take you a few hours. It would, most case, probably take you all day to have everything really detailed, and you'd probably still be missing a lot. And so you can kind of see the power behind it. I don't want to get too off script and kind of dive into too much, but if I come into here, there's a ton of, the cool thing about our AI tool is if you've used AI, a lot of the things or the limits to the ability, what you can do is basically just by limits on what you ask it to, which is called a prompt. And so to make it easier on how to know how you can utilize our tool, we basically pre-built prompts that I can come into. So like I can go to like, what if there's a specific objection? I can come to objection handling and I can put that in and it'll enter that in that prompt. If I need to, he mentioned something about a specific product and I want to look at product quotes in that case. Or, we're looking at, I've sold a lot of annuities and we're looking at potential Roth conversion ideas. I can go into Roth conversion for annuities or annuity laddering or whatever else, more client discovery. Let's say that we need to come up with a more detailed, comprehensive questionnaire on doing like a full income analysis with all of his investments and kind of his full retirement picture. I can create a questionnaire to do that. So there's quite a bit that you can do in here, and I could spend hours talking about it. But just from like going back to our original goal from this is, how do I implement annuities and create cross-sell opportunities with annuities and have a defined process by doing it. And you can see it by leveraging the technology with that. It gives you a repeatable process that you can do over and over again. It gives you the ability to get all the data and information that you need so you're confident in doing so. And then basically it kind of puts everything out in front of you. So it's just a matter of you sending the email, gathering the information, asking the right questions, going through the process, and then just basically, again, adding value by problem solving and being a solution to whatever problems that pop up based off of what they're looking at when it comes to retirement or income or whatever else on the product specifically. And so really cool as far as that goes. I hope that you can see the real power behind that and how it comes into play with how you could utilize that in implementing that to what you're doing with annuities and how you can start doing that. So let me switch back over to my PowerPoint and we can, give me 1 second as I pull this up. All right, so let's get back into presentation mode. So sorry, just reset my presentation. So where does that bring us to? So what is your first 48-hour action plan? We've covered like a lot of good information, and we've gone through different tools and scenarios and strategies, but like, that's great. And if we go back to our original example with David, it took him like 2 years of thinking about annuities before he actually started doing it. And so how can you today take action in starting to actually do that? What are some just key steps? And there's a lot of things you can do, but specifically, you can, so what we have and what we put down is today, you can start your free trial of Annuities Genius. So basically we give you a trial, you can jump into it, you can start going through it. You can basically, if you have already clients potentially that you could think about that you could mess around with, or you wanted just to create a a fictitious client and go through the process, great, you can do that. You can do that today. From there, I would brainstorm and write down maybe 3 to 5 clients that potentially would fall into that, call it segmentation of what we talked about, and go through the process. And again, maybe you just have an idea of a client and you don't have to even talk to them. You just kind of go through it as like practice. So again, you feel comfortable doing it before you actually have that conversation. And then after this, we'll also have where you can download your playbook, where it has kind of a step-by-step process as well. From there, tomorrow, once you've kind of planned it out, game planned it a little bit, you can reach out to that one client and try to plant that seed. Maybe throw out a question, or there's something that they mentioned, or whatever that is, start to actually utilize it. If you need help when it comes to the technology side with Annuities Genius, when you get into your trial account or when you sign up, we have Annuities Genius University that has a bunch of different training videos within the tool on features and how to utilize it. Every Wednesday, we do a masterclass at this time that you're free to attend. And then you can also reach out to our team directly as well for help. And then this week, where does that go from there? You can start having those initial discovery conversations, utilizing the discovery questions that we talked about or ones that you figure out, and then actually schedule an appointment and generate your first real Grant AI report on working with your first cross-sale client. Or if you haven't, if you've sold annuities before, now it's basically time to step up your game and make your process more efficient and really leverage technology, being Annuities Genius, on your annuity process. So for those of you that have come today, you obviously get the exclusive Zero to Hero playbook. There's a link that we'll give you so that you can download this. Basically, what's in that is our prompt. It's called our power user prompt. I was supposed to show that initially, but I got a little too excited and didn't go through that. But basically what that is that's it's pretty comprehensive prompt that gives you a good, actually, let me just actually go back and I'll share it to you instead of talking about it. What it looks like is this is kind of just a general example, but it's a retirement income intelligent report for, in this case, Bill Smith. And what it does is it basically just goes through a summary of their scenario, what they're looking at, some performance metrics, a diagnosis of their retirement risk, longevity risk, inflation bond. So it's pretty detailed, and I won't go through all of it, but it kind of just gives you an overall view of different strategies that they could potentially utilize just when it comes to retirement income in general, and then how that is compared to like utilizing annuities. And so, risk analysis, what the risk comfort is, what it looks like when it comes to coming into play with different market pullbacks, and then where it compares with other type of retirement vehicles. And so you'll get that prompt to be able to create that. Sorry, let me jump back up to my other screen. I apologize for jumping back and forth. So you get that. You'll get the initial discovery questions that we talked about in talk tracks, templates for planting the seed that you can email and text out, scripts that you can utilize for that bridge conversation or that transition, our Grant AI objection cheat list. So basically, common objections that pop up and then the responses with those, a client segmentation worksheet, and then your first 48-hour action checklist as well. And so that's all in the Zero to Hero playbook that you'll be able to download. Basically, the offer that you have today is obviously get your free trial. You get 10% off for 12 months signing up as well. That 10% offer is valid for 48 hours. And so you'll definitely want to take advantage of that for that discount. And so I would start your free trial. You can book an onboarding call, or the easiest thing too is just going through the Annuities Genius University and utilizing that, and then lock in your 10% for the first 12 months and start using the tool. So here's a QR code that you can scan, and that gives you the direct link to get that 10% off. And so you can scan that, or you can see the link as well if you want to post that. But I'll kind of we don't have audio for the attendees. So if you have any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask away now because we have a few minutes for Q&A. I will mention that this was recorded and we will send out the recording hopefully fairly soon to everybody that attended, so you can go back to it as well. So I'm going to go through a lot of questions coming through. Let's see here. I'm going to read it and then it's going to go away. If I already have the sales, I'm looking where I should put this. All right, so let's go through the questions, and some of them are getting answered in the chat as well. But all right, let's see. The masterclass link is going to be just on the top when you log in on the top banner screen of Annuities Genius. The advantages of different pricing tiers. So we have 3 different pricing plans. We have our starter plan, which is $99 a month, our Prime Plus plan, which is $179 a month, and then our Genius plan, which is $249 a month. If you look on the website, it has a different feature set on what's included within each one, and you can see which one would fit you the best. The Grant AI is included in all of them, and then our most popular plan is definitely probably the Prime, the middle one, the Prime Plus. But on the pricing section, you'll be able to see which tiers include which specific features. All right, let's see what other questions. How does that affect our current carrier contracts? There's no effect on the carrier contracts. That's completely outside of Annuities Genius. We have nothing to do with them. Basically, when you set up your account, you'll go in and create what's called a deck, which is going to be, you would select all the carriers that you're contracted with so that you can pull up all the products that you have access to. And then it just gives you visibility over those. It doesn't affect, yeah, it doesn't affect it in any way. So yeah, we're just software. So we have nothing to do. We're not, you know, basically because you're using us, carriers aren't giving us anything as far as when it comes to a slice of the deal. I mean, that would probably be a smart business move for us, but it's, yeah, whatever your split and everything from a commercial standpoint, that does not change. All right, let's see what other questions I'm going through. This can only be useful if you have a lot of it. So the software from annuity clients, we only work within the annuities marketplace right now. And so yes, it's only working with annuities, not other products. All right. How can I find which IMOs offer Annuities Genius? There's a handful of them. We don't necessarily have a dedicated list, and it's honest, at the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. If you want to reach out to us directly, we could probably point you in the direction on if there's any IMOs that have specific Annuities Genius offers. So it looks like another question, if you've ever written annuities before, depending on which products you are writing, whether it's life or, I mean, in most of the IMOs that you're working with on the life side or Medicare side, they will have the ability to sync you up with carriers, if not already, that will offer annuities as well. And so you can start with them and ask. Contact information, yes, for us. Look, thanks for posting that. That's our number. We don't do anything, unfortunately, with finding annuity leads. The only thing that we do with annuity when it comes to leads is we do have call it an out-of-the-box website that is specifically built as a sales funnel. And so it information all around annuities. It gives you the ability to utilize that website for your marketing efforts. And it's set up specifically around educating prospective clients around annuities, potential annuity quotes, and then funneling them to you as well. And so that's something you can utilize from a marketing standpoint, but we don't sell individual leads. We do offer plans for larger organizations. You can reach out to me directly on what our enterprise options are, and I can go through those with that. So it looks like the recording is going to be sent out within the next couple days. Also, if you liked this webinar, we do these every Wednesday at the same time, 11 a.m. Pacific. We also record all of our webinars as well. And so if you go to our YouTube channel and just search Annuities Genius, you can see all our past webinars. And so feel free to jump onto that. Our subscriptions are all month to month. And so you're not penalized if you cancel because it's just a month to month. We do have annual options where we give you a discount, but yeah, the standard agreement is month to month. The link for the masterclass webinars on Wednesdays is on our website on the top banner. You can sign up on those and you'll have access to that. GFI does use our platform for their annuity sales. And there is the link to our webinar as well in the chat. How many training videos after we sign up? I mean, there's a bunch of training videos, and so yeah, I would say there's a lot. And so it just matters. You can use them as much as you want as far as you feeling comfortable using the tool. I mean, honestly, like anything else, like I would say the videos are great, but I would just kind of, with how the AI is set up, I would just throw in like a test case and go through it. It's pretty intuitive. And like I said, when we went to the example, I mean, all you really need to know is where the client lives, their name, their age, and then the AI will help you fill in the rest of the gaps. The more information you need, the better initial output you're going to get, obviously, because you're going to have just better data coming in. So you're going to have better data coming out. But we do help fill in a lot of the gaps with the prompts when it comes down to getting it all squared away. Any other questions that you have? So with WFG, so we don't have an enterprise agreement with WFG. You would just purchase your regular individual agent account, and that'll work great with everything that you're doing. So the biggest difference with Prime and Starter, that's a good question. So with the Starter plan, you get access to our two main tools. You get access to the Grant AI and the Navigator tool. With the Prime, you get access to a bunch of other quoting tools when it comes to our calculators. So our income calculator is by far the most popular calculator. You get access to that. And then you get access to a number of other features as well with the Prime plan as well as the website. All right, you can add additional cases. So if you add AG to your existing website, you can do that. There's a video. I don't know if you're talking about the video that's within our website for agents' use is explaining how annuities work and the value behind them. You can post that link within your website. That'll just redirect them to that, and then they can watch that video. I don't know if that's what you mean. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody hopping on today. Again, download your playbook, sign up for your trial account. I mean, we don't charge you anything during the trial account, and so you have nothing to lose. I would definitely take advantage of it. Like I said, I mean, if you close one annuity case, it's going to more than pay for your Annuities Genius subscription. And then it also creates, like I said, a whole new market, a whole new income stream. And so I think you're going to like it. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody hopping on. We will automatically send this recording out to you. And if there's anything else we can do for you, please reach out and we're happy to help. Thanks for taking the time to hop on today and have a great afternoon.